Hello and welcome to a new video on IGCSE Mathematics. In this video, we shall be discussing intermediate problems in areas and volumes. So the first problem says, a cylinder with radius 6 and height h has the same volume as a sphere with radius 4.5. Find the value of h. So they give you, in general, the formula for the volume of a sphere. They give you this in the exam, but you need to know the volume of a cylinder on your own. So let's start with cylinders. The cylinder looks like this. And the volume of a cylinder is base area multiplied by height. The height of a cylinder is the length or the distance between the two faces. And then the base area is the area of a circle here, which is pi r squared. So you can say that the volume of a cylinder is equal to pi r squared h, and the volume of a sphere, as they said in the problem, is equal to 4/3 pi r cubed. Now, we are given that the radius of the cylinder is 6, and the height is h, and the sphere has a radius of 4.5. We are required to find the volume of h, and the volumes are equal, of course. So the volume of a cylinder would be pi times 6 squared times h, which would be 36 pi h. I don't like to find the value of pi. I don't like to substitute it for decimal because it's going to cancel out, for example, in this problem here. So it's just good to keep it as it is. And at the very end, if you need to convert it, you can for the final answer only. Now, for the volume of the sphere, we have 4/3. And we have pi, and we have r power 3, which is 4.5 power 3. And like I did with the cylinder, I'm just going to ignore the pi for now. Let's write it at the right here. And then let's multiply these two together. So 4.5 power 3 on the calculator. This is equal to a number, 91 point whatever. And then you multiply this number by 4/3, and you get 121.5 pi. You are told that the two volumes are equal, so you can create an equation which says 36 pi h equals 121.5 pi. Now you have pi on both sides, so you can just cancel out the pi. And to get h, you can divide here by 36 to get rid of this number as well. So your final answer would be 121.5 divided by 36, and h is equal to 3.375 centimeters, of course. So never mind the first two entries here. We are interested in the third entry only. And the third entry is in fact 3.375. This is the correct answer. A solid metal cube of side 20 is melted down and made into 40 solid spheres, each of radius r. Find the value of r. So a solid cube and a solid sphere, whenever you have the word solid, that means that the volume has to be the same because there is no cavity inside. There's nothing to do with it. There's no air inside. So the volume of the cube has to equal the volume of the 40 solid spheres. So let's get the volume of a cube. A cube is like a cuboid. So it's a rectangular prism. We discussed cuboids in the previous video in the basic problems. The only difference is that for the cube, the height is equal to the side. So if we have a side of 20, then the height is 20 as well. So we have 20 here and 20 here and 20 here as well. And the volume becomes very simple. It's area of base, which is 20 times 20. So the base area multiplied by the height, which is also 20. So in fact, it's just 20 cubed. And that would be 8,000 centimeters cubed. So this is the volume of the cube. Now, the volume of a sphere is 4/3 pi r cubed, as they gave us here. So the volume of the spheres will be 40 multiplied by 4/3 multiplied by pi r cubed. And this is going to equal the volume of the cube. So this will equal 8,000. We are required to find the value of r. So let's simplify this a little bit. I'm going to multiply 40 times 4/3. And then I'm going to multiply this answer by pi. And this gives me 167. So 167.55 r cubed equals 8,000. Now to get the value of r, this will be 8,000 divided by 167.55, but this will be r cubed. So let's just figure this out first. So 8,000 divided by 167.55. This gives us 47.7. And then the value of r would be the cube root of 47.7. And that would be 3.63. So the value of r would be 3.63. And this is the correct answer as per the marking scheme. A solid cylinder has radius x and height 7x over 2. The surface area of a sphere with radius r capital is equal to the total surface area of the cylinder. Find an expression for r in terms of x. So let's get each of them on its own first. We want the total surface area of a cylinder. So total surface area is equal to lateral surface area plus 2 base areas. Why is that the case? Because this is what a cylinder looks like. And to get the total surface area, you're coloring the cylinder all around from outside. So you need to color the front end and the back end. So this would be the 2 base area here. And then you would also need to color the curved area around it, which is the lateral surface area. So the sum of these two would give you the total surface area of the cylinder. What is the base area here? So the base area of a circle, so the base area is the area of a circle. So we would just write pi r squared. We are given that the radius is x, so this would be pi x squared. And the 2 base area would just be 2 pi x squared. What about the LSA? The LSA is obtained by base parameter times height. And again, the base parameter here is the parameter of a circle or the circumference of a circle multiplied by the height. So the base parameter is 2 pi r and the height is h. And we substitute the given values. So we said that the radius is x and the height is 7x over 2. Hence, the lateral surface area is going to equal, of course, you can just simplify here. You can cancel 2 and 2. So you get 7 pi x squared. So this would be the lateral surface area. Now we write this on the top for lateral surface area. And we add the two of these terms together. And we get 9 pi x squared for the total surface area of the cylinder. So let's write this down. So the total surface area of the cylinder is equal to 9 pi x squared. And we are told that this total surface area is equal to the surface area of a sphere with radius r. And we are given the formula for the surface area of a sphere with radius r. So A is equal to 4 pi, and the radius here is r capital. So r capital squared. And these two are equal to each other. We want to find r in terms of x. So this should be pretty simple. We just say 4 pi r squared equals 9 pi x squared. We can cancel pi and pi. And we want r squared in terms of x, or we want r in terms of x, excuse me. So let's isolate the r. Let's divide by 4 and remove the 4 from the left. So we get r capital squared equals 9 over 4 x squared. Let's take the square root on both sides. So the square root of r squared would be r. And then the square root here can be divided onto each term. So you can have root 9 root 4 and root x squared. And you can just get rid of the green overarching square root. So you have square root of 9, which would be 3. You have square root of 4, which would be 2. And you have square root of x squared, which would be x. And this is your final answer. R equals 3 over 2x. And if we check the marking scheme, we will see that 3 over 2x or 3x over 2, this is in fact the correct answer. And we move on. A solid metal sphere with radius 6 is melted down and all of the metal is used to make a solid cone. Again, solid being melted, that means that the volume has to be the same. And we are required to find H, or to show that H is 13.5. So let's get the volume of each. So the volume of a solid metal sphere is given by 4 over 3 pi r cubed. So this would be 4 over 3 v sphere, 4 over 3 pi times r cubed, which is 6 power 3. So I will keep pi as I normally do, and I'm just going to find 6 power 3 multiplied by 4 divided by 3. This would give me 288 pi. So this is the volume of the sphere. And all of the metal is used to make a solid cone. So it has to equal the volume of the cone. And we're given a formula as well for the volume of the cone, which is VC equals 1 over 3 pi. And r squared here is 8. So, r itself is 8. So instead of r, I'm going to write 8. So 8 squared. They told us that the radius is 8, so we can just use that here. And the height is h. Now we compare, but before comparing, let's simplify this a little bit. So like we normally do, we just have pi on the right here, ignore the pi, and we also have h. And we need to find 1 over 3 multiplied by 8 squared. So 8 squared would be 64 divided by 3, or times 1 over 3. That would give us 21.3. or just 64 over 3 pi h. Now we want to figure out the value of h. So let's equate the two equations together. We have 288 pi equals 64 over 3 pi h. We can remove the pi from both sides. We can take this fraction to the other side, so it becomes 3 over 64 times 288 equals h. Now 3 times 288 equals a number. Then we divide this number by 64. We get 27 over 2. 27 over 2 is the same exact number as 13.5. So this is the correct answer, because in the question, they already gave us what the correct answer is, and we were just supposed to prove it. So we know that we are correct so far. Next, we want to find the slant height, or calculate the slant height of the cone. So what is the slant height of a cone? The cone looks something like this. And the slant height, which we normally call L, is this side here. Now, the height of the cone is h, like the vertical height is h, and the radius is r. So these are linked by an equation, which is L squared equals h squared plus r squared, because this is a 90-degree angle. So this is essentially the Pythagorean theorem implemented inside the cone. We want to find L, so L squared equals h squared, which is 13.5 squared, plus r squared, which is 8 squared. So 13.5 squared plus 8 squared. This gives us 985 over 4. And then we take the square root of the answer, and we get 15.69. So L equals 15.7 approximately. Let's check the answer. 15.7 is correct. Finally, we are required to calculate the curved surface area of the cone, and they gave us the formula for that. The curved surface area for the cone is pi r L. So pi multiplied by r, which is 8, multiplied by L, which is 15.7. We just plug the values in. And we use the calculator. So 8 times 15.7. And there is a button for pi, of course, on the calculator. So you get 394.58. So roughly 395 to 3 significant figures. That would be a correct final answer. 394 works, 395 works as well. Moving on to the final question in this video. The volume of each of the following solids is 1,000 centimeters cubed. Calculate the value of X for each solid. So this is a multi-layered question, but all of the solids here have the same condition, which is that the volume is equal to 1,000. In the first case, we have a cube with side length X. We said in the same video that the cube has equal dimensions. So we have X, X, and X. So the volume in this case would be X power 3, and this would be equal to 1,000. Therefore, X is equal to 10. This is pretty straightforward. The way by which I got 10 is just to get the cubic root of 1,000, of course. So on the calculator, you would just write cube root of 1,000, and this would give you 10. In question B, we are told a sphere with radius x, and they gave us the formula for the volume of a sphere. So 4 over 3 pi x power 3 is equal to 1,000. The 1,000 applies to all cases. And we want to find x, so we isolate the x. So x cubed is equal to 3 over 4. I took the fraction to the other side, so I had to flip it, multiplied by 1,000. And all of this is divided by pi. And then to get x, you can put all of this under the cubic root and just evaluate it in the calculator. So cubic root, open brackets, write a fraction inside the calculator. So in the fraction, you put in the numerator 3 divided by 4 in a bracket, multiplied by 1,000. And in the denominator, you can put pi. And the calculator can find this in one move. It would be 6.20 or just 6.2 would be fine. Let's check the marking scheme to make sure that we are all right so far. So the first answer is 10, and the second answer is 6.2. So we're doing okay so far. In the third case, we are told a cone with radius x and slant height x root 5. And we are told that the volume is given by V equals 1 over 3 pi r squared h. Bear in mind that h is not the slant height. H is this height here. So in order to get h, we need to apply the Pythagorean theorem first. So we have to say h squared plus x squared equals x root 5. This is to get h in terms of x, because we want to get the volume of the cone. And the volume has nothing to do with the slant height. It has to do with the vertical height. So h and not x root 5. So we have to get the h first. And this has to be all squared as well, of course. So h squared plus x squared equals 5x squared. So we can say that h squared equals 4x squared. I just took the x squared to the other side. And we can say that if we take the square root of both sides, we know that h is equal to 2x. So now that we have h in terms of x, we can substitute in this formula here. So v equals 1 over 3 pi r squared h. The v is 1,000 from the top information. And we have 1 over 3 pi. The r is the same as x because this is the radius here. This is the r. So x squared. And then for h, we have 2x. So this would be 2x here. And we want to find the value of x. So you can take the 3 to the other side. So the 1 over 3, it becomes 3 on the other side. So you have 3 times 1,000. And then over pi. And we no longer have these. And as well as the 2, we need to get rid of that as well. So we have to put the 2 in the denominator here. And on the right, you have x power 3. So you can just take a cube root like we did last time. So cubic root of 3 times 1000 over 2 pi. Let's try to calculate that on the calculator. There is a fraction button on the calculator if you're confused. Put the numerator as 3 times 1000. Put the denominator as 2 pi. And you get for x, so we no longer have x power 3 here because we took cube root, and x becomes 7.82. Let's check the answer as well. 7.82 is correct for question C. Moving on to the last part of the question, question D. We have a prism with a right angle triangle as its cross section. So the volume of the prism is base area times height. And like I told you, the height does not have to be vertical. So the height of the prism here is actually this side here. This is the height. And the base area is the area of the face of the prism, which is the right angled triangle here. So this would be the base area. So the base area is equal to half times base times height. Watch out, because the height here refers to the height of the triangle, not the height of the prism. So if you want to not be confused, you can call this H capital maybe. So the height that I'm referring to here is the height of this triangle, which is x over 2 actually. So we have base area half times the base, which is x, times the height, which is x over 2. And this gives us x squared over 4. This would be the base area, x squared over 4, multiplied by the height. And the height here is 27x over 2. So the volume, and the volume is all equal to 1000, of course. So now we have an equation in x that we're trying to solve. The equation is 27x power 3 over 8 equals 1000. So x power 3 is equal to 1000 multiplied by 8 divided by 27. And you can take a cubic root on all of that in order to write it on the calculator in one shot. So cubic root of fraction, and in the fraction you put 1000 multiplied by 8 in the numerator, and you put 27 in the denominator, and you get as a final answer 20 over 3. So the final answer here is x equals 20 over 3. This would be the final answer. Let's check. 6 and 2 over 3 is the same as 20 over 3. So this is the correct answer as well. If you want to make sure, convert this. They're both equal to 6.67 on the calculator, or you can just convert this to an improper fraction. 3 times 6 is 18. 18 plus 2 is 20. So 20 over 3 is exactly the same. This concludes our video. I hope this has been beneficial. Thank you for watching.